I'm Shannon Peters with Lake Norman Realty, and we have a special guest today, Cameron from McIntosh Law. Hi, Cameron.
Hi, Shannon.
How are you doing today?
Good. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. You've been working on this a long time, and I feel super honored.
Thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so as you're familiar with, I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, pretty much born and raised, born in Winston, moved to Charlotte when I was 4 years old. So this is home. Went to Winston-Salem State University for undergrad, so Ram family. And then went to North Carolina Central for law school, so legal eagle, to be very clear.
That's awesome.
And after law school, I was the city. It's home, and it's just grown so wonderfully over the years. So I came back, and I've been here since, and will probably be here.
That's great. Then, what is the most challenging thing about your job?
Yeah, so I'm an attorney that does estate planning. Dabble a little bit in kind of partition proceedings and stuff like that. So a little bit of real property law. I would say the most challenging thing is to really, when it comes to estate planning, it is understanding exactly what the client wants and to make sure that conversation, when people think of estate planning, it is obviously surrounded by, one of the more tragic ending, like it's the end of life.
Right.
So making sure that we can have that conversation, be open and candid, but also, making sure you have that compassion behind it and making it clear that just because you're working on this does not mean, it's a death wish. It's not saying this will happen tomorrow. It's just, hey, go ahead for your peace of mind and really for your next of kin. Just helping have those final pieces together.
And what age would you recommend getting a will?
Yeah, now, so I recommend everybody at least get an essential set, which is 4 documents: last will and testament, healthcare power of attorney, durable power of attorney, and living will. I recommend everybody over 18 have at minimum those 4. I say that because really when it comes to those power of attorneys, anything can happen. You get your kid off to college, the kid, gets into a car accident or has a good night and breaks a leg. Well, yeah, you're their parent, but now they're a legal adult. So these doctors and everything they don't have to tell you what's going on. So having those documents in place so you can still just, kind of manage those type of affairs. So at minimum, and of course we're not thinking about, minors passing or anything, but just kind of having anything that you can to just lay stuff out in place to make it very clear. The more clear the courts know where stuff is going, the happier they are and stuff is in the future.
Awesome. And what would clients say about that was awesome while working with you?
The compliments I've gotten back the most, which I always appreciate, is just, again, having that kind of compassion for the conversation. People are generally coming in, the anxiety's high. We're kind of talking about like this one thing that none of us want to talk about or think about, which is end of life. And they're already coming with prior experiences, whether that be having to administer an estate for one of their loved ones, or everyone has an association with death, so kind of being open and compassionate about those emotions. Like, this is as friendly as a conversation as this can be, So
Right.
that's been my most given kind of compliment that I always take to heart the most.
That's good that you can talk about that. Because most of us don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Any advice you would give other business owners in your field?
I would say again that compassion, and to remember that when it comes to estate planning, there's not a minimum amount of money that you need to have. Anybody and everybody should have one, because that's another thing I run into pretty common is people hear estates and they think of those soap opera TV shows with millionaires having the readings of the wills, and it's like, oh, I don't have enough, and it's like, you're a person, you've got enough. Whatever you have to pass on, you want it to probably go somewhere.
And what is I know there's probably different price range on the will, but those maybe basic 4 documents. What is the average now?
Yeah, I would say, so at my firm in particular, our average for those 4 documents, very basic minimum standard, For a single person, it's at $1,000. And then, of course, we have packages for couples. Our firm, one thing I really like about working at McIntosh, they've got this history of being in the community. So we have a lot of, if not pro bono programs, then discounted programs. So, for example, we try to do what we can to look out for vets, our fire departments, what are they called? First responders. So kind of just like under that umbrella, teachers. So while kind of come in with that anticipation of 1,000, there's always kind of maybe something that you've done for the community that we would like to recognize and assist in some type of way.
It's funny, most of the time we talk about, taxes and all these other things, budgeting, money, but we really don't talk about like having a will. Like, I don't think most people go around and say, hey, did you get your will? Did you, like, that's an interesting conversation to have.
Yes, and having those conversations with the family too. It's very interesting dinner talk, but you don't want to wait until it's a moment where, especially I really think about when it comes to those healthcare decisions for healthcare power of attorneys. What would, mom or dad want done? How far would they want you to go as far as, keeping them alive? And just kind of really having that understanding of family ideals and conversation.
Right. And anything special that makes Cameron stand out from the rest of your industry?
I'm really happy to be a minority estate planner. The minority communities generally just statistically show that we have the least amount of estate plans in place. And when you don't have an estate plan, it can affect generational wealth, honestly. Because now you're paying more fees to the courts and everything like that, and that's just money coming from the estate that you want to go to this person, but now $1,000 may be gone just because you didn't have a will, so now they have to petition to be able to do the things that need to be done. And if there's not a very clear structure of who's getting what, that's where people feel entitled, and now you're in litigation. The family is litigating over, well, I feel like I'm entitled to this, I feel like I'm entitled to this, instead of just having had it clear and been like, nope, they get the red card, they get the blue card, that's it.
Right. And then it's probably like more time that goes into it versus if they had a will or they had some guidelines of like, okay, this is what I want to happen, but there's probably stuff like you said in probate court and
exactly. And then making sure people know what you have. So also in my packages, I like to give what we call non-legal document letters of final instruction, and it's just something that literally has your life laid out, all the accounts that you have, where they should find it, because people don't know what they don't know about you until it comes time for them to have kind of think they know it.
Yeah. And tell us, what's your favorite restaurant or place in the area?
My favorite, it's less of a place or location, it's more of like a resource. And Charlotte, there's a website called Charlotte's Got a Lot, and it's true, like Charlotte, North Charlotte, like this whole area has so much. So one of my favorite resources, if you're new here, you're a transplant, you're looking for kind of lower income cost things to do, not even lower income, we all like free and cheap stuff. CharlotteOnTheCheap.com. So literally CharlotteOnTheCheap.com, and you can find stuff. Probably the max price I've seen is maybe $20 events, but it'll show free stuff just happening in the Charlotte area, and that includes Lake Norman, Huntersville, Davidson, and it's just like such a great resource. So when you're sitting around bored, if you're looking for something to do on like a weekend, go right there, and it'll show you stuff that's happening every day around.
Yeah, so I have to piggyback on that. So when my kids were younger, I looked up on Charlotte
on the Cheap.
Charlotte on the Cheap. And that was a really good website because they do have places where you can go where kids eat free, and also like where you can take kids for free. And that's an awesome website. So definitely check that website out. Thank you, Cameron, for joining us today.
Yes, thanks for having me, Shannon.
Thank you.